We're live.
All right, look at us. We're live once again. Welcome to TDS Live. We're doing it tonight because we got some pretty fun news to report and share and discuss. It seems that USF football's named a starting quarterback. And welcome, Seth, Steeg. How you guys doing?
Good.
I'm on drugs still, so I couldn't be better, Nate.
Perfect.
The numbing effects of my mouth they're fully in right now.
Perfect. Love it. I love a high Steeg. Love it. Let's jump right into it, guys. Jeff Scott has named Cade Fortin the starting quarterback, QB1 for NC State on September 2nd. Hi, Jen. You're so sweet.
Oh, God, that's next week, isn't it?
It is. It's next week, guys. We're 10 days away, if math is right.
What's that feeling called? It's not dread. Actually, it's dread. That's what I'm feeling right now. It's like I'm excited because I feel like it's been a while since we've gotten a starting QB announced. Let alone 2 weeks before the game. More than 24 hours before the game starts. It's not going to be a surprise rolling into the game day theatrics, but it's nice to get a starting quarterback name. But boy, am I ready to just get my heart ripped out again.
I agree.
That feeling is excitement, Steeg. I know you haven't felt it in a while. Being a Jags fan as well.
Oh, they playing
it's called optimism.
Oh no, we don't want that.
I mean, this was something that seemed like the worst kept secret. I know we talked about it last week. I kind of asked you guys what you were hearing, what you were thinking, and Nate, you felt pretty good that it was going to be Fortin. And no surprises here. It is him.
No surprises. Jeff Scott said, when we've named the starting quarterback, we're going to tell you guys. It's not going to be a secret. You'll know. And less than 48 hours later, we knew. And I sent in our Slack during spring. I was out there watching a practice, and you could just tell it was Cade. And I said it's Cade. He just had it. He figured out what he didn't have last year with the pandemic, without having a spring, and he turned it around. It's been really nice to finally have some stability at the position. We talked about it 2 weeks ago about just the absolute depth at the position finally, after a few years of struggling to find scholarship-worthy bodies on the team, and now you got a guy who was a 4-star recruit coming out of high school, was initially committed to Texas A&M, broke his leg the second game of his senior year, and then Kevin Sumlin got fired, so he reopened his recruitment, went to UNC, and then Larry Fedora got fired, and Sam Howell came into UNC with Mac Brown, and he had to find a place. And what's really interesting, Joey Johnson, he's special. I don't even know what his official title is. I know he did sideline for USF football, and he's just one of those guys who has covered USF for decades at this point and is really plugged in. He's doing basically what Tom Zebul did the last 7 years, kind of covering practice and things like that. He had a really good story out this evening about Cade Fortin and being named QB1. And in the story, he was about to go to Syracuse. He was very close to going to Syracuse. All right. So, everyone knows the story. Jeff Scott introduced on a Wednesday up at Cade's house Thursday night, recruiting him because he was going to sign that Friday, and was able to flip him. And here we are a year and a half later or so, and we've got a starting quarterback. And Syracuse is dealing with some unfortunate play calling.
Yeah, I think it's one thing it kind of makes you feel good about is it kind of confirms what you were hearing last year a little bit before the season, what they said a little bit before the season. Because during the season, we would kind of talk with each other and why is he not playing more? So I think Joey's article also confirmed a COVID last year, which was kind of
it was a pretty
never confirmed, but kind of danced around it.
Yeah,
but that was kind of confirmed.
We did our best.
Yeah, so
he was sick and couldn't be around the team. I don't know what else it could have been.
That's what it was never confirmed. I don't think if it was him or if it was he was like exposed or it was. So to kind of hear kind of what he went through last year kind of definitively is also good because you were wondering all year last year, why isn't this guy playing more? You thought, at least I did going into the year last year, that he just looked different than the other guys throwing the ball. And he had that pedigree.
Right.
And so when he didn't play, we're not at practice. So I don't like to be one of these guys that really second guesses playing time a lot because the coaches, they're getting paid for this. And if they are not good, they get fired. So typically they want the best guy to play. So if the guy that's playing the best in practice, but that was one where it's kind of, it's trust the coaches, but there seemed to be some disconnect. And now I feel like we know why. Right. And that gives you kind of even more, I think, confidence in him going forward. That without all that craziness last year, he may have been the guy last year, and then it would be firmly established this year.
Right.
He has the talent. He seems to have the demeanor. That article you referenced was a really good look at how he prepares and what his teammates think of him.
Right.
Which I thought was a really, really good to read. So if you guys haven't read that, check that out.
Yeah, please do. I mean, Joey is an absolute pro at what he does. And I want to pull up, there was something that really kind of caught my attention. I think it was from Brad Cecil in the story. Oh gosh, now I got to find it because I've read this like 3 times now.
He mentioned he was a great dude, and he also mentioned he's a great leader.
Yeah. So it's from Brad Cecil in the story that you have to check it out. It's just such a good job by Joey. Cade is the nicest guy you'll ever meet. And he's one of the best leaders you'll ever meet. And he is social and he's friendly in a soft-spoken kind of way, but he sets an example for all of us through his actions. Just watch how he takes notes in meetings. He doesn't miss details. When he talks, we listen. He has that kind of credibility. And this is from Brad Cecil, who's been in the program for 3 years through all the crap that he's been through. He recognizes the leadership and knows that Cade's the guy.
And that was another thing that kind of tipped me off. You kind of see when you're looking at the team pictures, like out and about, they're at the soccer games, you kind of see who are the linemen hanging out. Which quarterback are the linemen hanging out with? And they seem to be hanging out with Cade a lot. So that was another thing that kind of, got my antenna up a little bit. But this is, last year Jeff Scott said he wanted to have a starter name before, I think he said the first conference game.
Right.
And he came out and kind of said similar this year. He wants to have somebody named early. And he kind of got his wish. I think it was more of maybe looking for Cade to confirm what they thought during spring. And one thing I thought was interesting with that article is this was kind of like a coordinated rollout.
Yeah. I mean,
you name him the quarterback, and then the very right after you roll out this really glowing article about him. So it's something. It seems like something that's been kind of waiting to be announced for a while now.
Yeah, I mean, I thought we may have gotten it on Saturday, but I think they had a coordinated rollout, and they were making sure that, they control the news cycle, and that's what they do. That's a good job by everyone involved. We had kind of heard rumblings that the decision was already made, which is kind of why I pressed the matter on Saturday, just to see if I kind of laid it up for him. I asked him about the penalty kick that he took. Comparing it to drawing up the game-winning touchdown in the national championship game, which one was more nerve-wracking? And then it was like, all right, no, but for real, have you named a starting quarterback? And he didn't take the bait. But I think we all knew it. Just you could tell from the spring game. I mean, if you guys didn't think he was the best quarterback out there at the spring game, I don't know what you were watching. And he just kind of rolled into fall. I know, Eric, you've asked the question, do we just flat out redshirt McLean or try to play him in the 4 games? Probably play him in the 4 games. I know there's some packages for him. It just depends when and where they'll use them. We'll see how the NC State game goes. Maybe the flow that you can get a change of pace in there or do something. And then as a follow-up, does this mean a short tenure for Jaron Williams? That I don't know. I think he can take solace in the fact that Cade went through the same thing. It took him about a year to really find his feet, and then look at him now. Who knows what Cade? I mean, Cade's a fourth-year sophomore, I think. 2018, right? Yeah, he's like a fourth-year sophomore.
He was in the class with Justin Fields and Trevor Lawrence.
Right.
So those guys made their NFL debuts recently. So
that
he's a sophomore in college.
He's still a sophomore in college, but he could technically leave if he wanted to. If things go glowingly and we're 15-0 holding the national championship, why not head to the pros? You're really never going to top that. So it just all depends. But I think you need a full year, and with him being out a literal calendar year without playing football, it's tough to really step in and take over.
Yeah, I think that one of the interesting part of this whole thing is, and you tell me what you think, Steeg, is kind of the fallout from it. Just not even just in terms of the football, but kind of like Eric's asking, what does this mean for McClain? What does this mean for Williams? What does this mean for Marsh? I think it seems like now typically you're not going to carry 4 guys that are really competitive, want to play back-to-back years. It seems like somebody's probably going to leave. They may not, but that's typically the way it seems to go now. Steve, what do you think about that? You think we're going to see some type of movement in the offseason, or maybe even sooner before school just starting?
It's pretty much inevitable at this point, especially with the fluidity of the transfer portal and all of the moving parts that are going on within college football.
Oh no, did it happen?
He warned us.
He warned us before we went live that his Wi-Fi sucked.
Anyways, well, I'm not going to ask him any more questions.
Yeah, right.
He had his one shot. He blew it.
He really blew it. He really blew it. Yeah, I mean, I can't remember which quarterback commit it was. Steve, you're trash. Get better Wi-Fi. So there was a quarterback commit. I think it was either the first or second one that basically. Okay, that was pretty good. Let it go. That's pretty good. Basically said, yeah, I was told that there's going to be some movement already. So I would expect it. You mentioned school starting today. So you have a week for ad drop. Who knows what's going to happen within the week? I think naming a starting quarterback now gives some of the other guys a shot to figure out what they want to do. I by other guys, I definitely mean Travis Marsh and Jaron Williams, because I don't think Timmy McClain's going anywhere. So there's that, and I'm by no means saying that they're going to leave, but you now have the thought in your head that maybe this happens, and then you're down to 3 scholarship quarterbacks, and then with Cade does have a history of getting hurt. I mentioned his senior year in high school. He dealt with injuries his freshman year at UNC. He dealt with injuries last year, so it's no foregone conclusion that he's going to stay upright all 12 games. If he hasn't learned how to slide yet, I think we're in some trouble here.
Yeah, no more leading with the shoulder, especially the throwing shoulder.
No,
I think you may see a guy leave soon, but there's also the chance that it's not like the guy's a proven commodity. He seems to be a really talented player and a good player, but I'll pull up his kind of stats for his career here. He's not necessarily a proven commodity. Maybe when he gets under the lights, he has problems. I don't think that would happen, because he seems like a pretty poised kid. He's really talented. He's, like you mentioned, he was kind of highly recruited in that class in Georgia with all those really good players. But as you're a competitor, maybe you're thinking, well, season's long. Maybe I can beat him out. If he falters, I'll stay and beat him out. But it seems to be more and more the guys are leaving. And, even Cade, that's what happened to him. He was at North Carolina. New staff came in. Sam Howell was their chosen guy. He left before he kind of got beat out and lost it in camp, left, and now he's here. So you could see something similar. That's just kind of the way it is. We think, and from what we've heard, Cade seems to be the chosen guy for this new staff. It just has happened a year later.
Right.
So we'll see what happens. But I know you wanted to look at Cade's numbers from previous stop. We're going to get a lot more numbers wise from his time at North Carolina.
Right. He threw 8 passes at USF.
Yeah, so we're not going to get a ton from there.
I want to add one thing
He's
before the
back.
Wi-Fi cuts back out. Hopefully, I can get this in. I think the staff knows that someone is going to leave, or maybe 2 people are going to leave. Hence, why you have 2 QB commits this class thus far. I don't wholeheartedly think that both Byron Brown from Rollsville and Gunnar Smith from Lake Mary High School up in Orlando, I don't think both of them are going to come to USF. Kind of frankly, if it does happen, great. But I think that the writing is on the wall for 2 of the 4 quarterbacks in the QB room right now, and it's not Cade Fortin and it's not Timmy McClain. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. Hopefully the Wi-Fi sticks out for a little bit longer so I can make more commentary at some point.
Yes. Well, that's what we're hoping to, Steve. Just real quick, it's kind of hard to. I don't know if you guys could even see that when I pulled it up. It was kind of hard to see on the screen, but I can kind of
able to blow it up.
Yeah, I'm working on it. But just a quick rundown of his stats. He played his last game was against North Carolina State. Threw for 276 yards, a touchdown, interception. Also ran for 15 yards and a touchdown.
Right.
So he's played them before.
He has, and I just got done watching the first quarter of that NC State UNC game, and Cade looked really good. He had the interception, not his fault. He hit his guy right in the hands, and it just popped off his hands and fell into a defender's lap. He had another ball drop that he just whizzed right in there and just bounced off his shoulder. And then the very first play of the game was a great post route. He underthrew that one. I think if he threw it, further toward the right hash, it would have been a big play. But he's got some legs. Larry Fedora should have been fired because regardless of the 2-9 record that UNC ended up with in 2018, he on 4th and 2 ran a QB sneak. Like, that's a fireable offense as is. Like, why are you going 4 and 2s? I couldn't imagine doing that.
He was probably already fired at that point.
Yeah, to be fair. You're probably right. Some other cool, interesting nuggets that I found from the story about from Joey and as well as Cade's just Instagram. Former 49ers running back Garrison Hurst loves him, considers him a nephew. I just never would have expected that at all. And then Cade was named after his first name is William, but he goes by Cade, and he was named after Cade McNown, the former UCLA quarterback, and I think he played for the Bears for a couple of years and had a cup of coffee in the NFL. So that's
first round pick.
Real interesting.
Lefty. Garrison Hurst is a Georgia guy, so he's from Georgia, so maybe there's the connection there.
Probably so. But I thought that was incredible.
Yeah. So we've already lost Steeg again, so he made it. He didn't make it quite as long this time as he did last time. But here are the game logs for Fortin in his time at North Carolina. You see it's kind of mop-up duty. He had a few games where he played quite a few snaps, it looks like. Threw the ball a ton against North Carolina State. You said you kind of watched the beginning.
Yep.
But he's got some, and they've got how Steve has T-Mobile. He may, and if you look up, he's got some highlights online you can find of these games where he's making some pretty big throws, and he shows off some athleticism that you saw a little bit last year when he took off and ran. So he can do a little bit of both. And I think the interesting thing about him is beyond. Most guys, I think, coming out of high school are getting recruited for physical skills, especially at that kind of 4-star or 5-star level. A lot of it's physical skills that instantly translate. But what's interesting about him is all the coaches talk about how smart he is, how quickly he's picked things up. And then he's taken a step even, and that was last year. I think he's taken a step even up from then. So if you feel pretty good about your quarterback position, I think you have to feel pretty good about the offense because they've got some really good skill position players, I think. Some guys that transferred in, and then the guys that were on the team last year that may be ready to take on some larger roles.
Yep, exactly. Eric asking about Xavier Weaver and DeMarcus Gregory on the outside. Yeah, I think that's a pretty safe bet. I know Xavier's missed some time, and I know Latrell's missed some time, but I mean, we talked about this last week. It's just night and day, and with the talent that's on this roster now. Oh, good, Steve, give it up, man.
We're just going to have to have you like.
Now you're muted. Oh my God.
I'm struggling here tonight, fellas.
Yeah, we're aware.
We're if anything, I'll just hide in the background. It's fine.
There we go.
It's okay.
I think you go from. Go ahead.
No, I was gonna say I'm no longer on my computer. I'm just on my phone, and I turned off my fucking stupid ass Spectrum Wi-Fi. Run LTE time now. We're on the big time stuff.
Big money Steeg with the LTE. So
Yeah,
I feel like I feel like you've got a lot more guys in the past years at the skill positions that you would consider like this guy's good enough to start. I think some of the young guys they brought in last year, are kind of ready to take that next step up, like we mentioned earlier. It looks like we have somebody.
We have someone.
We might have somebody in the stream here.
Oh my God! I was
Coley, Matrix, Chris. Now, I think we're all aware that's the number one.
It's the number one UCF fan
is
this side of.
I know the anticipation is killing me right now.
Oh, this is worse than Steeg. Steeg, you're moving up the ranks here. But
I'm
man,
up. I'm QB1 now.
All right. Well, so I in addition to it's unfortunate, call the Matrix, Chris. In addition to that news, I think the other thing that's come out recently is the opening line for the game has come out. I believe it was 17. Is that correct?
I saw it at 18 on Saturday. I think it was 18 on Saturday, and man, that's a whole lot of points.
Yeah, that's a lot. North Carolina State seems to be a team that's a darling of people. That a lot of college football writers seem to really like them. They're returning a quarterback. They didn't play a ton last year because of injury, but they've got some good skill position guys. I think they're replacing some really good players on defense, but they're kind of a trendy pick to win a bunch of games this year. I know a lot of guys I've been listening to talk about them all think they're going to be going over, and I think their win total set at 6. They feel like they're going to be pretty good. So it'll be an interesting first test. But yeah, like you said, 18 is a lot of points. It is a road game, but I think nationally people aren't really quite sure. Oh my goodness,
this is going to work this time.
We have a run in. Maybe.
Ugh. It would have been such a cool surprise if it just worked the first time.
I mean, I like the freeze here.
It's the anticipation is just palpable. It's like
I will say USF 5-4 against the spread last year. Oh, ladies and gentlemen, it's Chris Torello from Spectrum Sports. Maybe.
There. Oh,
you guys and your internet, what is going on?
Spectrum.
Whoa. Spectrum is an unbelievable product, and they provide quality service.
Great journalistic
I'm putting
integrity.
up fighting words tonight.
Chris has got to get on the big LTE like Steeg. That's right, Eric.
I know.
Yeah, get that 5GE, baby.
So I mean, 18. It's just again, it's such first game. I mean, I get it, but geez, no respect. Can't get no respect.
Yeah, plus 18 is a big number. I think that's one of the bigger numbers. But the thing about USF that I found just covering them the last couple seasons is I don't feel like the national media really has a good feel on what's happening at USF a lot of the time. When the first year I was here, they were overrated quite a bit, I thought. Like Memphis came into town and they were a 14-point favorite. Memphis was only a 14-point favorite. And
Right.
that USF team had been pretty bad going into that game. And you're like, 14 points, there's no way they keep this within 2 touchdowns, right? And then last year you said they went 5-4 against the spread. So it's kind of I just don't think they really know a lot about what USF has coming. And it's kind of hard because of all the transfers and things like that are coming in. And last year being such a weird year, I don't think really anybody knows a lot about what USF is going to be bringing out. So they'll have a nice national television audience.
Yeah, if you guys can find it on the ACC network, if you guys have it, I think on Spectrum it's channel 99. For those who remember the old TV Guide channel.
Yes, I think you're right.
I think that's what it is. So make sure you check that out. I know you should have it if you have ESPN Plus. I couldn't be positive on that, but I do know this: if you get season tickets, new season ticket holders for men's basketball get a year subscription of ESPN Plus included. So 2 birds, 1 stone. Get some men's basketball tickets, and also get a nice. It's not. Oh, Nick, you're hurting my feelings. Oh,
all right, give me it, Steeg. Can you talk? Give me a drum roll here. Give me a drum roll, Steeg.
Oh my gosh, Chris is actually going to work now.
Yeah, it's going to work. You guys
Look at him. He's here.
Oh man, welcome to the show, Chris Torello. How are you doing tonight?
Happy birthday, Nathan.
I appreciate it, brother.
Okay, cool.
I appreciate it. So, Chris, USF 18-point underdog, week 1
Yeah, take
at
it.
NC State, right?
Yeah, take it.
Absolutely.
Good win for NC State. So.
Absolutely. And what are your thoughts on Cade Fortin getting named QB1?
Oh, God, biggest surprise. Honestly, I don't think any of us saw it coming. I had gotten rumblings about it. Probably, I think the decision was made long before Monday, before today.
Right.
I know you asked about it Saturday, but we knew he was QB1 going into spring. He was QB1 out of spring. The biggest question for me is Jaron Williams, because what happened to him? I'm very interested because Cade is a really good quarterback, and this is a plan that was put in place that weekend in December 2019 when Jeff Scott on a Friday flies up to Atlanta to go see him and his dad before he's about to choose freaking Kansas. And,
or Syracuse to
or
team up with Sterling.
So there were a few schools, but yeah, so I think, look, Cade's the right guy. He's definitely he's the leader of this team. I think if you talk to his teammates, they're drawn to him. He's the guy that has the most confidence. He's the guy that leads them in drills, leads them in warm-ups. He's just an all-around guy that you need in this program. And what's different than, say, like when Blake Barnett was in here is that Cade has really invested his time with the program. Not saying, Blake didn't do that or other transfers, but like Cade has years. Cade wants to be here. Cade is trying to do some things. There's no fault to Blake. I like Blake. He's a good guy. But I think for Cade, it was just a point of like he could be here for a few. He's a sophomore. What is he? 27 now. I mean, he could
Something like that.
Good God. He's he could be here. They're gonna name a hall after him when he leaves. So I mean, but he's the right guy. But I'm very interested what happens now because I think somebody's leaving, somebody's transferring out. I mean, Philosophy 101 is going to have one less person in it next week. You know what I'm saying? So,
do you think before ad drop, there's one person in the portal?
Yeah, but I think if you're a USF fan, you hope it's not Marsh or McLean, because Marsh has had a wonderful fall camp, and the gun on him. I mean, the highlights that they throw out for us to use on, that we get to use in our highlights and all that. By the way, I think at Bay News 9, we use them. I don't know if anyone else ever uses them. Channel 10 doesn't. But, I know that we certainly, appreciate when they do give us highlights. And there's always a Travis Marsh throw. There's always a 60-yard bomb down the field. I haven't seen a Jaron Williams play in a little while. In fact, during their second scrimmage, we didn't get stats on Jaron Williams. So that's interesting to me.
Yeah, I know Joey Johnson kind of tweeted about his stats. I think he had one series, and that was it. And that's Joey basically said, you're getting closer to game time and you're whittling down the playing time of the people who are not going to be starting. I think that was a real telling sign that they had kind of figured out the pecking order. What I think is interesting is I think Travis Marsh is QB2.
Yes. I think it goes Cade, Marsh, McLean, and then if there's Jaron Williams. That's how I had it coming out of spring, and that's the way I see it now. So,
Chris, do you think McLean will get any type of package or any type of playing time with his dynamic athleticism, or do you think they're going to hold him for the 4 games?
By the way, Seth, good to see you. They have a package for him. They have designed plays. I think he and Jimmy Horn were brought in with an understanding that y'all are both going to see the field early. So whether that means they bring McLean in for a package and they roll out Cade into wide receiver just for the hell of it, or there's a lot of different things you can do, a la Michael Vick, Donovan McNabb, that type of thing. Jameis Winston and the guy who's going to start over him in New Orleans, whatever his name is. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of different schemes you can do. And especially Jimmy Horn. I mean, that's a package. It was one of the most exciting deals ever to bring a kid. I mean, that kid has talent for years. And you're going to get both those guys. Absolutely. Tim, I mean, they got 4 games for a reason, Seth. I mean, he might as well get rolled out there and play. Now, here's the thing. You go to NC State, and I would like to think USF can play against NC State. I'm not saying they're going to win that game, but I would like to think that if they have the run game that we have seen, if they have the passing attack that we think they're going to have, they've got different – listen, I'm impressed by their transfers they've got at wide receiver, some of the guys that have grown a little bit more. They've gotten a little bit more mature, not just with the guys who have gotten some of the – they've gone through taking their lumps, but then gotten mature by bringing in some older guys. So I like who they have, and I think Charlie Weiss's offense – is going to look a lot better. So maybe you compete against NC State, but maybe Florida, maybe you're not doing so hot in the third quarter. And, I think one thing about Cade is he's not he can get hurt. So maybe you're down a lot in the Florida game, and maybe you say, Timmy, have at it. Go out there for a quarter and a half. And maybe you see something out of Timmy. Maybe you don't. But I think those are those opportunities, blowout situations, games where you just need to get guys involved, and then also little packages as well.
What's interesting is I wonder if he'll get brought along like Florida did with Emory Jones a few years ago, where they put him into some games and some big games in high-pressure situations just to get him the time, but he still only played the 4. He got his red shirt. But they picked and chose their spots to get him in because they did have a capable backup. This is when Franks was starting, so Trask was the backup. So you had a capable backup, but you can get this dynamic guy some time, get him in games that are important so he gets that kind of look. So maybe you do see him the first game of the year. My wonder is if he's contributing to winning, if it becomes a package thing, like again, I'll mention Florida with Tebow and Leak, where he's contributing to winning. Do you just have to kind of say, you know what? Forget the red shirt. He's contributing to winning. This package is giving us something. We got to roll with it.
He'll talk to his dad. I mean, his dad's a really smart guy too, and Jeff Scott's really good at talking to football parents. So I think they'll make that decision. So, but yeah, would it shock me, like you said, Seth, that they have like a goal line package where a la Emory Jones, Timmy could kind of go right through that A or B gap and be like a quick little, QB sneak at the 2, or could he roll out, quick little throw, jump pass, whatever? Yeah, why not? Why not have that kid in there? It just creates a little confusion. But yeah, I mean, if it's contributing to winning, winning's winning. I mean, everybody wants to be on the field when you're winning. People want to be part of it. So I wouldn't think there'd be a problem there. But it's interesting you mentioned Emory Jones, because look at Jaron Williams, look at Emory Jones, look at Trevor Lawrence, and look at Justin Fields. Those all 4 guys were part of the Georgia high school quarterback recruiting class of 2018. They were all – and the guy behind the 4 of them in 5th place was Cade Fortin. So it's a very poetic kind of thing that I see, because Jaron was ranked 10th in the state. Cade was ranked 68th. And now Cade's the starter at USF. And Jaron's, we're not sure what's happening with him. So very interesting. And Emory Jones was right behind Jaron there too. So it's interesting for Cade. It's almost like a big full circle Georgia party here that he's going to get to go through.
Agreed. I know Jimmy Horn, he housed a kickoff return on Saturday in the scrimmage. So getting him on the field is going to be important. I know he's taking cues on the kick return unit, some punt return, but I think Bryce Miller, more sure-handed for right now, is probably going to be that guy. But you got to get your dynamic players, and that's it, right? Those are the guys.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I think they need an answer back there in terms of punt return. You can't look. I think we've all established Bryce Miller is just God somehow, some way. That man he runs a slant better than anyone. He runs the out and in. I mean, fine, East Lake, flap your wings, buddy. Let's go. Do what you got to do. But then you look at guys like Yusuf, Latrell. I mean, they have guys that can handle the load on the offense now, where in years past I would think, well, a la Kelly Joyner, we got to throw in Jimmy Horn now. Jimmy's got to play slot today. Jimmy's got to come right in, take his hits, get hit by a 260-pound linebacker, and he's only a freshman. So I think this allows Jimmy to build his confidence. You see him get dynamic back there in the punt return, the kick return, and then you use him in a couple different things. Yeah, he's going to be really fun if you use him the right way. Don't overwork someone like him, because if you use him and you allow the Jets to really be cooled and he can speed right by somebody, it can change the course of the game.
I think that's one thing this staff has done a really good job of from when they got here, is they've added a lot more explosiveness on offense. You've got a lot more guys that can make those plays down the field or get it to them in space, which I think Weiss wants to do. He wants to get guys the ball in space, let them catch and run. And you got those guys like Horn. You got Latrell Williams, who seems explosive on the outside. You've got Omarion Dollison, who came in last year, showed some explosiveness. When I first started kind of covering the team a little bit in Strong's last year, I was shocked at how few explosive players they had on the team, being a team that's located in Florida. They were not explosive at all. They did not have those guys that could take a slant and go. They seem to have quite a few of them now, which I think that's kind of where offensive football is heading, is explosive plays. So they didn't have the guys that could do it a few years ago. Now it seems like they've got quite a few at running back and receiver.
Well, it's going to be really important. Yeah, especially a running back is actually going to be a real strength in this team, and that's just my opinion. I think Charlie Weiss is going to be able to use a lot of play action if he wants. He's going to be able to use some delayed handoffs and shotgun, do that type of nature, some jet sweep, whatever you want. And we saw a little bit of that, in some of the limited plays that come out of the Kremlin. But I think it's going to. What? I mean, I mean, maybe they're not a superpower like a Russia, but Russia plays are in the news, so we're going to say Russia. So, but I think I think running back is where it's going to start. And if you can't look, it's same thing can be said with Glenn Spencer. I sat with him the day of the locker room reveal. Everybody else wanted to talk to Charlie Weiss and talk to these guys and those. I went right for Glenn Spencer and his Monster Energy drink. And I sat down with Glenn Spencer. I said, Glenn, you and I talked last summer, and you said if you cannot stop the run, to hell with the pass. You can have 100 interceptions if you can't stop the run. So this USF team will be defined by two things. Can they stop the run, and can they run the ball? If they can do those two things, this team has a chance to get to 500. So I think that's where it is. But you're right about the explosive players. Of course, we've been talking about wanting to see an exciting offense, even with Charlie Weiss last year. And before then, Kerwin Bell. I mean, my God, we all thought he was everyone in the media thought he was the answer. Every fan thought he was the answer. Nathan thought he was the answer. I mean, that scene at the end of Polar Express? Because you know me, I'm a Christmas guy.
No, absolutely.
And they ring the bell, and the guy and the parents like, I can't hear it. Sorry, sport. That's the thing. No one could hear the bell. No one could hear the magic from Kerwin Bell. It was a dud. So off he went. So here we go.
I mean, to be fair, Kerwin was probably the most honest coach I've ever interacted with, because on this here podcast, he told us that Valdosta State had more explosive players than USF had. And
I believe it.
God, he was right.
No, I believe it. But the thing is that he went into that season talking it up, and then they go into Wisconsin, and it's like they didn't know how to run the ball. They didn't know how to do anything. So it's just very interesting. I'm not here to get into a Kerwin Bell argument. I really could care less. But it's very interesting how long USF fans have been waiting for some type of competent offense. I would think
it's been 5 years.
Willie's last year.
Yeah, I know, absolutely.
Last year. It wasn't even. I mean, Sterling Gilbert ruined the Ferrari. We all know that.
That's to my point earlier about explosive player. I think it's been a recruiting issue. You don't have guys that can win one-on-one. Yeah. So how you talked about it being important to run the ball. Well, if I can lower the box and you can't beat man coverage, which they couldn't,
yeah,
how are you going to run the ball? You can't. So it doesn't matter if friggin' Belichick comes down here. If you can't win one-on-ones on the outside and people can load up the box, it doesn't matter who's calling plays. But I think they're fixed. I think this new staff has fixed that problem by getting guys that can win one-on-one outside. There were guys that have a receiver. If they're not kind of fast, quick guys, they've got some big like grown men out there playing receiver on the outside.
Oh, yeah.
So they've fixed that issue to where if you want to single them up, if you got a quarterback that's playing well, good luck. We'll take that one-on-one coverage. That's not something they could do 2 years ago. I don't think even that much last year.
They've got guys, Seth, that are very hungry to outwork the defensive back that they're facing, even in practice. And we saw that with Yusuf the other day. I mean, the Marsh ball that went down the field, and he went up and got that ball, and he lost his helmet, and he was like, I don't give a damn if I don't have a head. I'm catching this ball. And that's what's been missing. It's been attitude, and physicality is another thing they've been missing. And I don't think we've seen I think this might be the best. The team that walks off the bus, this is the best team that's walked off the bus in Bulls green and gold in a while, because they've all gained weight. They've all, trimmed the fat. They're in really good shape, and that goes to a lot of their strength and conditioning. And Jeff Scott's been very big on finding the right kind of formula there over the last 9 months. Taking care of your body, especially during a pandemic, is huge, and for high school, for college kids, it's no different. Yeah, I think they've just the attitude, everything. Hey, Robert, are you going to contribute at all, or are you just here to sit?
I'm waiting until my moment to shine. But no, you basically hit all the points that I think USF fans want to hear. But I know from talking with some people online as well, there's a lot of hesitancy coming into this year as well, because it's like we heard this stuff. We heard this stuff 2 years ago. We heard this stuff last year. We heard this stuff 3 years ago. It's like, it's great to hear that the team got bigger, the team got faster, the team got better, and all this stuff. But I think everyone is kind of like in this weird anticipation state of like, all right, are they actually bigger, stronger, faster? Can they take a punch in the mouth? And we don't know. I mean, for all we know, no one knows what this team's capable of. I think that's the worst answer you can give. But I think it's going to be more entertaining this year than anything else. I think the glimpses that we saw of what this team can put together, plus what we kind of got in the back end of the transfers and the stuff we've been seeing in practice, this team is capable of being a lot of fun this year.
Mm-hmm.
Does that translate to 4 wins?
Yeah.
6 wins?
Yeah.
Can they pull an upset out of their ass? I don't think that there is aside from Florida game, I don't think there is a guaranteed loss on a schedule this year, just because taking anything from last year is just, it's hearsay, but I think we're in for a fun year.
I agree with you. I think here's what I would say. Think Memphis game from last year. Think that potential where they can, but they're gonna score more this year. And if they have that upset moment, maybe the way they blew out Cincinnati back in 2015, sitting there, or was it Temple? I was Temple. The night that they got their chance to get themselves to the now defunct, ever so famous Miami Beach Bowl. That night will go down because you remember that night. I mean, it was like, oh, this is going to be a real good game, and then they're like, no, screw this. We're taking care of business tonight, and that was the same with Cincinnati a couple. Before that, there were games like that. So I'm not. So if they upset somebody, I think they're going to make a statement in those games. That's what I think. Now you may also have to deal with some duds. It may be one of those up and down, like where the high is the Himalayas and the low is the Everglades. Like where you're going so south. So I think there may be some tough Sunday mornings or perhaps a Friday morning for USF fans. But I think I laid it out for a couple. I was talking with a couple of Iron Bulls a couple of weeks ago, and they said, "Well, how do you see the season?" I said, 0-2, 2-2, 2-4, 4-8. 4-4, 4-8 type of thing. That to me is realistic. But like you just said, no game is completely out of reach except Florida, and no game is a sure thing. So that's probably look. We see it so differently than a lot of people on Twitter who just want to stick it to those people from Oviedo, even though they're in Orlando, and they want to have their moment, and they're just waiting for it. Look, I think if God's honest truth is, if you can have a Scott Frost 2016 season and go 6-6, you should build the statue for Jeff Scott. That I'm serious, because you will get every opportunity in 2022 to build off success. The more success you have this year, the more expectations go up in 2022.
So what you're saying,
exactly.
So what you're saying is hammer the over 3.5.
I think 4. Yeah, I mean, I've got them probably winning 4 games, but again, that could bloom. That could blossom to 5 or 6. It just depends on how things shake out. Go ahead. Sorry, Seth.
When you talked to Coach Spencer, did he get into, and did you ask him kind of how much did missing all that spring hurt him last year in terms of install?
We talked about it. We talked about it last June when I met him outside of the Selman Center for the only one-on-one he did. And he and I are sitting there talking, and he goes, I never knew what Zoom was. What the hell? I'm writing stuff on a board. I'm sharing my screen. I don't know what the hell this is. Like, he was so frustrated.
Yeah.
And he knew right then and there this season was lost in the worst way possible. So then sitting down with him a few weeks ago, he was so relieved because he knew his team. He knew who his guys were in the secondary. He knew, because of course they brought in a bunch of people. He knew who his guys were going to be healthy for linebackers. He knew who his defense. I think they feel a little worried about that side of the trenches. Maybe a defensive line, but he also said, "Look, we got to scheme it right. We're going to have to be creative. We're going to have to blitz the right way." And guys, you take the good with the bad. So,
Yeah.
and he also said something to me. So he's a lot more focused this year, Seth. I don't want to give too much away, but
No, well, we were talking last week when you went back and watched his defenses at FAU. There was a lot of blitzing, a lot of movement up front.
Yeah,
because they didn't have those, world beaters up front either. But they moved. And then you watch USF last year, and it's very vanilla because, like you said, you missed spring. He's having to do install over Zoom, and then with COVID, there's guys in, guys out, guys not practicing, guys practicing for 3 days. Now you're out. So I'm really interested to see how different they look this year, just based on what he's done in the past, because he's been a lot more exotic, a lot more aggressive, a kind of a really fun defense to watch, moving and stunting and blitzing. And you didn't see that last year. And I was just kind of wondering, was that kind of mostly because of that lack of spring and lack of install time?
Oh, absolutely. And considering he said to me, Chris, there's guys that played last year that won't even see second string this year. Yeah, that's how dire the situation was last year. So, look, God willing, the 80% vaccination rate will hold for this team. I'm not getting into it. Because I think I tried to say my piece. And USF fans got on me because they're like, "Oh, you're blaming the parents." I don't. First off, if you and your parents want to make a decision for you, God bless. I'm not my mom, not my dad. But like my biggest problem is it stalls the growth of this program. If you have a week where a bunch of guys have to sit because of contact or whatever, that's my only concern. And why, when the NCAA says, if you are vaccinated, you will not be tested. Not NFL, where you're going every 2 weeks. The NCAA recommended that if you are vaccinated, you don't see the cotton swab again.
Does the conference have a percentage? Like I know SEC is 85% threshold. Once you hit that, you don't have to test at a certain level. Does the conference have that threshold? I haven't seen that.
I've been trying to get answers on that. I know when Michael Kelly had his West Shore moment, there at the Leroy Selman Center. I think we tried to press him on that. He made it sound like, look, if you're not vaccinated, you're getting tested 140 times over the course of the season.
Yeah,
I think that was the number. I may be wrong, but it's a lot. You're getting tested a lot. Like look at the Cam Newton situation. I mean, he's unvaccinated. And because he didn't get tested at his facility, even though he tried to do right by getting a test on a day he couldn't make it to the facility, he still has to sit 5 days because he technically broke protocol. So why would you want to deal with that? That's my only thing. So, but I don't think it's going to get there this year. I think we're going to see a smoother college football season, but there may be a couple games where Jeff Scott's like, no, these are our unavailables. And I hated that email last year. I hated that.
It was the worst.
Before the game, I hated that list. It's the worst list in the world. So hopefully we don't see that this year. So, but that kind of goes back to the point about players. If you have the right pieces, Seth, then you're going to see progress. But if there's this crap happens, then we could see a little bit of it could take longer.
Yeah, and I think you mentioned the Memphis game last year a little bit earlier, and that's a game USF could win if they had the bodies, right? I mean, they just ran out of steam, they ran out of bodies, and you wonder, will you or could you squander a game because you ran out of bodies because there's contact tracing within the secondary again or what have you, and it's something that you've got to really weigh. And I know someone mentioned, it's FDA approved now. Yeah. I mean, get the Pfizer if you feel safe now because it's FDA approved, unlike the vitamins and supplements you're taking right now. By all means, go ahead. But
yeah, I mean, I got Pfizer. Listen, I had COVID in January. It wasn't fun. Wasn't anything, obviously being only 31, I was able to handle it a little differently. But I mean, look, the first day that 18 plus could actually get it without any medical issues or anything was April 5th. And my fiance and I went down the street to Walgreens. We were the 8 o'clock appointment that morning. And we said, stick us. And then 3-4 weeks later, boom, the second shot went in, and I didn't feel comfortable in anything until I got that second shot. So I think if you've had COVID, at least one shot gets you really safe. Penn just did a great study about T cells and how if you had COVID and you get at least one shot, that's like someone without COVID getting their second shot. It gives you some protection. It's to get the machine inside you working on how to produce those responses. Those are what antibodies are. Those are what T cells are. They are the soldiers, the warriors that go to battle when called on. And that's when the virus enters your system, and that's when they have to go attack. That's how it was explained to me, very dumbed down by my best friend who's a doctor. And I appreciate it. So you see how smart I sounded there. So it works. It works very well. Yeah,
absolutely. And let's kind of steer back toward football. I know, it's an exciting time. We're 10 days away. Chris, you've been around the program for how long now? 5 years? When was your first season? Seventh year. Okay.
Time flies when you're having fun on Twitter.
Absolutely. So, I mean, you've seen the beginning of the Taggart era, so 2014 was your first season?
2015.
2015?
I
Okay.
was there when they were 0-2. He needed to win Syracuse.
Right. Do you feel like there's a switch that can be flipped like Syracuse? Like, is there, is that BYU? Could you like point out that maybe that BYU game being the one that kind of flips it, and then you kind of go on a sort of a run, or is it still maybe a year too soon?
I think it maybe it goes back to what I said before about the peaks and the valleys. It may be a game where I remember during Charlie Strong, that ECU game where we're like, oh God, can they beat ECU? And then they blew them out. They played terrific in that game. I think you may get a couple of those games. You may get some of those games when you don't expect them to be like, wow, that Bulls offense looks really good. I mean, maybe here comes a little bit of we put things together, and then maybe the next week it doesn't look as impressive. They still score, they still look okay, but it's not as potent. It's not, things aren't clicking as they should. But I think if you can get to the middle of the season, what's their I don't have the schedule. I don't know if I'm allowed to look up the schedule while I'm talking to you guys, but what are their first conference games?
At SMU,
that's a loss.
October 2nd.
That's a loss. That's a loss. So.
I was waiting for the Princessa, man. I was hoping for it.
Yeah.
Seth, can you pull up that schedule real quick, Seth?
So it's because okay. Like I said, I think if they are somehow 2-2 going into SMU, you have to feel somewhat good. I know BYU is not. We're not talking Zach Wilson, but BYU is still a good program. So if you can beat a BYU, that changes the outlook of your non-conference schedule. They got to play well against FAMU. None of this Elon crap from a few years ago where they win like 34-14. You need a game where you've got a coach like Jeff Scott, and he remembers what it's like to be on Dabo's staff. Week 1, Citadel, FAMU, those types of games, you win 56-9. Like, you have to win those games. They have to be emphatic.
Right.
So you come out of SMU 2-3. That's best bet. Tulsa. Oof. Now here's the thing with Tulsa: you get the bye. So I don't be shocked if that game, which is they haven't announced the time yet. Have they? No, I can't see.
No.
Okay, if that's a middle of the day game, maybe. It depends. I know Tulsa kind of has gotten lucky. They've been able to come here with the darkness and play under the lights. But you get Tulsa in a noon game or a 3:30 game, who knows? You may be able to win that game.
Yeah, that Tulsa Temple ECU stretch seems to be a stretch of 3 very winnable games.
I agree with that.
In the middle of the schedule. And then Houston, I don't know what to think about Houston. They've got talented players, but they seem to be so up and down. But I think that 3-game stretch is going to be key especially if you're looking for an over. That's the 3-game stretch that you want to go 3-0, and I think it's possible.
If you want growth too, those are the 3 games.
Right.
Because,
2 at home and the last one on the road.
Yeah, so you come out of SMU, say you lose that game, but maybe you play strong at different points. You come home, you can put the tape in and say, okay, here's what we need to work on. Here's what we can do during the off week. And then we come ready to go, and let's take it to Tulsa. Say they beat Tulsa. Then that gives you momentum for Temple. Then you beat Temple. And then you could come right back, quick week, and you play at ECU. You handle ECU, you could be sitting there. I mean, you're 5-3.
With extra time, prepare for Houston.
And then you play Houston, which, look, I don't know. I mean, Houston's interesting, man. Dana Holgerson, I mean, that's an interesting program. I don't know if you guys have more of an insight than I do, but that's not exactly the way it should have gone when he took over from West Virginia.
No.
I think when he got there, they were the most talent based on like the 24/7 ratings. They were the most talented team in the conference.
Yeah.
And now I think they're maybe 3rd. They've just kind of seen a dip down since he got there in terms of talent, overall talent. But they still have some of those high-end players. So they're really hard to peg how they're going to be.
Well, that's homecoming. So who knows? I mean, if let's just live in this world for a minute, because it must be nice for you guys. So Tulsa, Temple, ECU, let's say those are wins. Now, what's the word? There's another H word there next to Houston. Homecoming. Maybe, just maybe, there's a little bit of a momentum. Fans are in the stands. Alumni are like, wow, we're 5-3. This is a chance to clinch a bowl game, the coveted Gasparilla Bowl, but seriously, you want to do what UCF did, which is the Cure Bowl, right? Or the Puppy Chow Bowl, whatever they call it over there. You want that moment where you can celebrate. And if you beat Houston, your season's fine. Then Cincinnati at home the next week, you'll take your lumps.
Right.
And then you go to Tulane, and look, Tulane's an up and down program. There are some years you're like, man, they can beat the living crap. But I've always believed if USF, which has enough Florida talent, and now they're getting talent from other parts of the Southeast, which I think is very good. I think it's very well done. I know we all want the Bay Area talent, but I'm sorry, if I can get a kid from South Carolina or Georgia that wants to play here, and they're just as good, they're coming. I don't care. So who knows? I really believe with the talent USF is supposed to have, with a coach like Jeff Scott and Glenn Spencer and Charlie Weiss and Mo and all their guys, you tell me you can't beat Tulane?
See, what all these guys are secretly hoping is that the Tulane victory gives them the bowl eligibility, and they can all celebrate on Bourbon Street.
That's true. Okay,
That's
what this group is
scenario.
hoping. Yeah,
I think everyone's really hoping that, because I don't want to go into Black Friday at 5 wins. Do not. I don't need that kind of stress in my life. I have 2 kids. I just started a new job. I don't have the capability to handle having bowl eligibility hinge on beating your rival.
Well, it's at the Bounce House this year, so that's it wasn't fun the last time. If you're a USF fan, that was a very interesting game.
That was a come to Jesus moment for a lot of folks, and I remember asking Charlie Strong if he deserved to have that job.
I know how to win. I remember that. I remember that press conference.
Yeah.
Was that you or was that Hatab?
Oh, that was me.
Oh, but Brian asked him a question too, except he didn't ask it in the nice way. He just asked it in his way, and it was very should you get a paycheck tomorrow? Like, should you be the coach here?
I think that was the week before.
I mean, it was. But I remember I asked him, the teams that are going by you in the American right now, should they? I mean, USF's falling while these other programs like the Tulsas, Tulanes are starting to rise a little bit. And I remember asking that question, and I didn't even wait to hear Charlie Strong's answer. I looked in that little shack they put you in, and I just turned and looked right at Michael Kelly. He was standing right in the back by the door, and he was just like this. And he was just looking. He was thinking of that answer and thinking of, you know what? He's not – he isn't the guy. And now I think those questions, your question – that whole round of just fire that he took, I think that's it. I think that's when he went, you know what? We don't have a shot here with him. That's when I honestly think, he's like, he can't sell me a bill of goods like he did the year before. And that was the end of that. So.
Agreed.
Daniel, real quick, Daniel in the chat makes a good point about Tulsa. Their schedule before they play USF is Ohio State, Oklahoma State, Houston, Memphis, and Arkansas State. So they may be pretty down by the time they get to USF on the schedule there. It's a pretty tough road to hoe there.
Look, things haven't gone USF's way for a few years. They're owed a couple breaks, whether that be scheduling or bones. They're owed a forfeit, COVID forfeit.
Love it. Would love it. Count it. That's a win.
You imagine being in, talk about Bourbon Street. Imagine you're sitting there Friday night and they go, yeah, Tulane can't play tomorrow. Oh, you want to talk about popping the bottle?
I would be the most annoying person on Twitter.
Or you beat Tulane and then UCF can't play the next week.
No, don't do that. We don't want
They would take it.
No, they'll play. Are you kidding me? UCF will find a way to play that game. Are you kidding me?
They're the walk-ons out there.
They'll play, man. No, listen, I think last year this time there was we all tried to talk football last year. It didn't work. Like talking football, talking depth charts, talking whatever, it all went out the window that first game because you're like, there's no energy in the crowd. There's no way these guys are all going to play a full season. It was out the window. It just feels nice. Sitting here, 10 days out, and we know we're going to be sitting here watching the NC State game. And that's, if you're a USF fan, if you're a college football fan, just take it. Enjoy it. There's college football this weekend. The New York Times undefeated national champion UConn Huskies play Fresno State Bulldogs. Okay, I got my shirt. All right, New York Times undefeated champions. They're ready to go. It's so much better. The New York Times matrix, by the way. Let me explain that. It is so much more sophisticated than this Kali matrix. And I think the UConn win. UConn not playing makes them better than the 2017 UCF team. That's what I think.
True.
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Did they have a parade? They couldn't.
They're
holding off because of the COVID.
New York Times said if you have a parade, we'll take away the trophy. So they didn't want that to happen.
So catch-22.
Yeah. So they're like, nah, we won't go down the one street in Hartford. And so that's what they decided. But yeah, no. But maybe I'm wrong how I'm seeing this season. Maybe who knows? Who knows how this year is going to go, man? I don't know. What do you guys think? Because here I am doing all the talking.
Well, that's why we brought you on to get a different perspective.
Otherwise, we'd have to listen to Steeg talk.
Yeah, but I like him. And I like Robert.
Do you want him?
What?
Do you want him?
No.
Intern Steeg.
Intern.
We're all full over here. But no, I mean, it's just, to me, it's like, I mean, do you see it the same way, 4-8, 5-7 maybe type of thing? And
yeah,
you luck into a couple wins, you luck into a couple. I don't think this is a 2-10 year.
No.
I don't think it's complete disaster year. But I do think a lot of USF fans, young and old, need to, maybe, not saying keep that pad and pencil to kind of make notes of the good plays, but you're going to see a better product this year. And that's all that should matter. And do what Michael Kelly has said. Buy more tickets. Bring your friends. The energy in a building can change the way a team plays. And if USF fans show up, You know, like, look, I don't know you can't take the Rays excuses because you have a stadium in Tampa. You play right there. You play where Tom Brady won the Super Bowl. If that's not enough of to get a family of 4 there that doesn't want to go Sunday to a Bucs game because of the ticket prices or parking or whatever, I don't know what to tell you. You know, like this, fans have to show up, and they need to start averaging, some fans and get some. Because if they do, I think it's going to help this team, and I think it could help them this year, and could help will them across the finish line a couple times. Because we know Florida's going to have their crowd. I mean, it's going to be so much blue and orange, But I already said it. I don't care. I'll enjoy it. I'll sit there and enjoy 70,000 people sitting in that arena. I will be so happy seeing all those people sitting there again. It's going to be really nice.
Roasting their asses off while we sit in a nice cold press box.
I'll be on the field, man. I want to take that in.
Oh.
There's something so beautiful about a stadium being full. And I'm going to do my best to be out there as long as I can. And plus, I don't want to wear a mask. So I'd rather be outside. Hey, at least I'm honest. I'm not one of these, we're all in this together, folks. I mean, I got priorities, I don't want to wear one. So, I mean, I'll wear it if I have to. I just don't want to. So.
I hear you.
No, Chris, you're right, though. It's going to your question about the feeling of the season. I'm now ready to kind of book it where I want to book it at, and I'm at 6 wins this year. I think they're going to pull 6 wins out. I'm ready for it.
I'm ready.
He's extending the bit from last season.
He really is.
I think we're all in agreement on an over of 3.5. I think we all feel pretty good with that.
I just don't think these experts have seen this team.
No, they don't have. They don't keep up. I think they're always kind of lagging behind on USF in terms of what kind of talent they have. In the past, they thought they were more talented than they were, and then now I think it's gone the other direction.
I think it's great. I think it's I think Nathan said it when they brought out the poll. I mean, what the hell did you expect? USF to be picked 7th? They were.
I picked them 8th in the poll, and it was I had a Navy, ECU, and Temple. And I don't feel confident about Navy because they could find their quarterback and then they're at the top of the league again. And they actually have been practicing tackling, so that'll also help. So that's the one I don't feel as good about, but I definitely feel better about USF beating out ECU and Temple than I do any other team in the conference.
Who is going to be Navy's quarterback?
I don't know.
I think he's a sophomore.
Okay, interesting. No, I just know because they had a kid from Seffner Christian who's up there, Isaiah Knowles, and I remember how much he.
I remember him.
He told me when he chose Navy that they were going to start opening it up a little bit more, and that hasn't happened. So,
I feel like you hear that every 3 years from Navy. It's like, oh, they're going to start passing more, and then.
Well, the guy they started at the beginning of the season last year was like a spread quarterback from Alabama, I think. In high school, he ran the spread. He wasn't a triple option guy. And they tried to put that square peg in a round hole, and it did not work at all last year. So I wonder if they're going to be like, you know what? Never mind. We're going to go back. We're going to be just triple. I don't know. It's such an advantage. Yeah, it's such an advantage. I don't know why. I mean, you could open it up a little bit, I guess, but why? When they have a dynamic quarterback, they're killer.
Yeah, they're really good. I mean, you think about some of the times against USF where you only throw it 6 times, but if they're all 6 completions and, one of them's a long play, who cares? It's fun. Plus, the game goes fast. I enjoy that aspect of Navy.
Yeah, big fan of the under 3-hour games.
Oh, God.
Big fan of that.
The 2015 game that lasted 3.5 hours because I wasn't scoring, though.
Well, yeah, because Raymond Woody forgot. Well, I didn't. You can't forget something you don't know how to do. So I guess he didn't know how to be a defensive coordinator, and he remembered that he was not a good defensive coordinator in the second half.
Does anybody remember Tom Allen was the defensive coordinator here?
Miss him so much.
Tom Allen with all his buddies, all his team. He's Michael Penix, who apparently wasn't good enough for Sterling Gilbert. And you had Micah McFadden, and you had Whop Fillier, who just left and was, oh, God. Oh.
Well, on that sad note, I think we should wrap up here. We've been on for an hour and 15 minutes. You guys have been great. I want to thank Chris Torello from Spectrum Bay News 9 for hopping on and really giving us some perspective from people who are not, tied to the university as directly as we are.
I went to USF. Didn't you know that, Nathan?
Oh yeah, I heard.
Yeah.
You went to Providence for undergrad, and then I think you got like the elective courses at UCF.
Yeah.
And then you got your master's at USF, I believe.
Oh yeah,
what
perfect.
happened.
I think you hit the nail on the head there. Yeah, I bleed it all, man. Bleed it all. I don't know what the hell's wrong with them.
Well, again, I appreciate you coming on, and this has been another edition of TDS Live as USF has a QB as we go into September 2nd. 10 days away, folks. 10 days. Have a good night. Be safe. Don't be stupid. Go Bulls.
Go Bulls.